What's up, ladies and gentlemen? Universal Mastery is my brand. It's also my channel. What I do is I break down the occult sciences to a very practical level so that you can use them and apply them in your day-to-day life and get real, actual results. Okay, I'm a professional occultist. I'm fully initiated in Kabbalah. I'm studied on astrology and the tarot. So without further ado, what I'm going to be talking about in today's video is the planetary energy of Saturn. So what exactly does Saturn represent as a planet and as a planetary energy? And how can you also apply that in your own spiritual practices as well? So if you want to know a little bit more about the energetic properties and attributations to Saturn, then stay tuned for the rest of this video. Okay, so I'm gonna jump right in. So first thing I would definitely highly recommend is that, you know, this is just one video. Okay, this is me on YouTube talking about Saturn. I'm not a professional astrologist yet. I'm definitely much more studied than the average person. My goal in 2021 is to become a professional astrologist, and I've been studying every single day so far. So definitely make sure you look, like, don't just take this video and say, oh, now I know everything about Saturn. Definitely look at other videos as well. That's what I always do, you know, so I just want to make that clear as well. Just, you know, look at all the videos that people may have on YouTube about Saturn. You're going to get different things from every video, I'm sure. So yeah, without further ado, Saturn is a dark planet, okay? It's also a very cold planet because it's really far away from the sun. I know a lot about Saturn because I was born when Saturn was in retrograde, and it literally snowed on the day that I was born, okay? So Saturn, the attributations to Saturn, like some of the key words would be death, control, occult, discipline, anything that has to do with, like, you could think of like the military or even like the police force. Yeah, and that's I think those are some good keywords that'll offer you value. Those are very profound keywords. So death, occult, control, discipline, order, that's one, order, bringing structure, slow moving, because Saturn moves slow, so it's actually a slow moving planet. Okay, so those are the keywords I want to leave. So my experience working with Saturnian energies, I know a lot about that. Because I work with spirits and I work with planetary energies, okay? And spirits tend to have planetary energies, a lot of spirits do, and they will literally trigger those energies onto yourself when you work with them. So I've worked with a lot of demonic spirits that have a lot of connections to Saturn. For example, Hecate, she's a great spirit to work with if you want to get into Saturnian types of works. Or there's Satan, okay? Satan's another great spirit to work with for Saturnian types of works. Then there's other ones as well, but those are the two that I work with. So when you start to feel the energies of Saturn, once again, it's going to make you feel restrictive, okay? It's going to make you feel cut off almost from fun. It can give you that sense. It can make you feel cut, like something's missing, like you want to be doing more in regards to fun, in regards to like expression, but there's just like this dark restriction and almost like a compression that's being placed on you. And although that may sound bad and it may sound like, oh, well then why would you ever want to work with Saturn? It's actually extremely important and extremely powerful when it comes to your own spirit's evolution. Because remember, the diamond is formed under pressure, and Saturn is 110% a planet that will apply pressure to you. It can also give you emotions of anxiety and fear. Saturn is a planet that really amplifies those emotions, and that's why a lot of people fear their Saturn return. If you know about astrology, every single person at usually the age of 28 will go through what's known as a Saturn return, where the Saturn in the solar system aligns with the Saturn on your natal birth chart, and that's known to be a really tough time to go through for most people. And once again, it's because Saturn carries those energies. It's not an easy planet. It's a really tough planet that causes massive amounts of self-reflection, causes massive amounts of discipline, cutting the loose ends, moving slow but sure as a motherfucker in a direction that you know within time will eventually reap massive amounts of reward. That's another thing that Saturn does for you, is like when you feel its energy, it's gonna really make you be very practical. Okay, Saturn's like an earthly planet. It's very practical. It's like materialized. It's a crystallizing planet. Okay, it brings what you could think of in your imagination to a literal physical form because it's so restrictive. It's so funneled in on one thing, and it really directs its laser beam focus, which creates that crystalline structure. So as I was saying, it's like, you know, when you start working and you start feeling that Saturnian type of energy, you're gonna feel more disciplined. Like you may feel like you have like these routines that you start wanting to follow out of nowhere. Okay, you're gonna start being like, I need to discipline myself. I need to stop doing this thing. It's just gonna give you these feelings. But remember, like, Saturn is that planet that once it leaves or once it stops affecting you and it plays its role, like once it gives you that level of Saturnian awareness where you have become disciplined, you have become ordered, you have looked into what death is about, because remember, that's like one of the biggest fears that every single person carries in their own subconscious, is the fear of death. So Saturn will have you confront that very fear right there. So that's actually gonna help you learn more about, you could almost say, the big mass collective trauma that most people have, which is gonna make you essentially more fearless. Saturn is a warrior's planet as well. It is a planet of a warrior. Because you have to kind of be a warrior to work through Saturnian energies. So once you take on those energies of Saturn and it starts to leave, or it starts to not affect you in the same way that it did before, like in a less heavy way, you're gonna, like, your mind is going to be on a whole nother level, because you were just so used to being so restricted and so disciplined and so ordered and focused on the occult, but not only the occult and the mystical side of it or the esoteric side of it, but the practicality of the occult, the science of it, right? So once Saturn starts to go away and affect you less and less and less and less and less, your mind is going to be so much more free, and then you're going to be aware of all the benefits that you gain when Saturn was affecting you. So for example, like when you start to work with a Saturnian spirit, you're going to notice, you're going to feel these energies that I'm talking about. And then once you've developed yourself and evolved to the level where you've taken on that energy, to the point where you don't need it, not to the point where you don't need it anymore, because it's not that you don't need it anymore, but to the point where you don't need it for the time being, where it'll leave and then it'll come back again at some other time. You'll notice that once again, like, you'll see the benefits of it. Like, Saturn is one of the best, is one of the most powerful planets, and if you go anywhere in the United States specifically, you go to any city, any major city, you're gonna see a lot of Saturnian symbolism, because for the people that are elites within our society, they understand how grid works operates. It's a literal mechanism to harvest energy, and there's tons of Saturnian symbolism, because remember, Saturn is a planet of control. So, and it's also a planet of the occult. So they're trying to control certain energies. They're trying to control the thoughts of people. And also they're trying to produce fear into the environment with that Saturnian energy. But, you know, fear is not the problem, but it's the distraction that they put on top of it. So you can feel fear all you want, and fear can be one of the healthiest emotions to help you grow. But if you're feeling fear and someone's telling you that the reason why you're feeling fear is because of some other shit, and they're trying to like distract you from the real root of where the fear is coming from, that's where fear becomes a problem, because now you think the fear is coming from this external thing, when really it's a planetary thing that's going on, and it's actually trying to teach you something. So if someone told you to run away from your fears and don't look at your fears and be distracted because it's that thing that's making you fear, so attack that thing, then obviously you're never going to be able to integrate that fear. You're never going to be able to understand it, because you're not getting to the root of it. So that's what I'm going to say. So yeah, you know, Saturn is a very powerful planet to incorporate in your own meditations or your own rituals, 100%. The color that's associated with Saturn is black. And if you pull that into your ritual space, that is going to make you very powerful in regards to your occult practices. So it's going to teach you discipline and order within your occult practices, which can give you a sense of like tradition. So you may find that intuitively you start doing things that your ancestors were doing in regards to occult practices or ritualistic techniques or whatever it is that you're doing. But when you pull in Saturnian energy, you're pulling in all these energies that I'm mentioning. So the more you develop yourself to be accustomed to that Saturnian energy, the more you're going to be able to harness that and put it in other directions. So if you wanted to control somebody, if you wanted to have massive amounts of fear placed on somebody, like if it has something to do with cursing somebody or harming somebody using occult magic, Saturn is the planet that you're going to want to use. And once again, that's why a lot of the elites in our society use that planet specifically. And remember, I've mentioned this in another video, Satan in the Bible is directly connected to Saturn, and the reason why Satan is the devil, quote unquote the evil one, is because they're trying to program the masses to believe that Saturn should be feared. Satan, being Saturn, should be feared. So remember, if you're afraid of fear, then you're never going to understand it. But if you integrate and embrace fear, then it actually becomes a part of you, and you start to not fear it anymore, and it actually starts to become you, where you start to harness that power. So once again, you can use that in your own ritualistic practices or your meditations to help yourself develop or send that energy in other places, and that's very powerful. Once again, the color black can pull in those energies. Obviously, if you're using a spirit that it has connections with Saturn, you would want to pull that spirit into your ritual practice or your meditation, whatever it is, through invocation, which I have a video on exactly how to do in my Patreon, okay? So Saturnian symbolism, anything with a ring. You know, you could have your candle sitting there and then place a little ring around them. However you want to make that ring, okay? Place a ring around it and have it symbolize Saturn, okay? That's going to further pull in those energies. The more symbolism you place around yourself, the more Saturnian energy you're gonna pull in. Saturn has to do with death. Get a skull, okay? Go to like a Halloween store, order it online, a skull, whether it's real or fake, whatever. That's why I have a skull ring. It pulls in that energy all the time. But that's another way that you can pull that in. Let's see. Yeah, I think that's honestly that's probably the best type of symbolism that you can use to really get the most out of it. So that's where I'm going to leave it. Yeah, Saturn is an amazing planet. It's very powerful. Most people fear it. Most people are totally afraid of it. When people talk about shadow work, if you've ever heard about the saying shadow work, that is directly connected to Saturn. It's also directly connected to Pluto and the Black Sun. Those three specifically. But Saturn has a major role when it comes to shadow work. So anyone that you've ever heard say, oh, I'm doing shadow work or I've done shadow work, that what they're also talking about is I've worked with Saturn. I work with Saturnian energies, because that's where that energy comes from. It's those darker sides of the unconscious and the subconscious. So yeah, so I'm gonna leave it there. So if you like this video, hit the thumbs up. Also hit the notification bell, hit the subscribe button, because I love to see my subscribers go all the way up. Definitely make sure you check out my Patreon. If you go to the description, it's going to be that very first link at the top. It says my Patreon right next to it. You click that link, it'll take you there. Now, in order to gain access to this exclusive content, remember, none of this content is on my YouTube channel. This is only for my Patreon members. You have to at least be a tier 2 member or up, okay? In order to be a tier 2, it literally costs $9.95 a month. And if you do the math, that literally comes out to less than $1 a day. So there's absolutely no reason why you shouldn't be able to afford that, especially with the value that I have on there. And that is a fact, I promise that. The videos that you can expect on there, I have one video specifically teaching you how to do an invocation, where I perform one on camera and I'm teaching you how to do it at the exact same time. What an invocation is calling a spiritual intelligence into your own body so that you can then begin to develop that spirit's power within yourself. Okay, now what that can do for you is give you more psychic protection, that can give you more psychic awareness and more psychic power, okay? So I have videos like that. Then the other bit of the videos are going to be geared towards what I like to call educational entertainment, which is a video that is very similar to this one. The video is entertaining, but it's also giving you a lot of value at the same time, okay? So altogether, there's 4 tiers. As you go up in tiers, the benefits increase as well. I'm gonna let you check that out for yourself. With that being said, I would love to give a special shout out to the top tier members of the Patreon. Their names are gonna be mentioned right below that Patreon link below. So huge shout out to you, ladies and gentlemen. I highly appreciate you, and I highly appreciate everyone that's a part of the Patreon, and I highly appreciate everyone that's a part of the channel as well. But special shout out to the top tier members, and then special shout out to the Patreon members for sure. But yeah, other than that, I'm gonna wrap it up here. I hope you have a wonderful rest of the day or night, and I will see you on the next video. Peace.